A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast. Your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things Podcast. I am Sam. We are talking about the Ahsoka series, the Star Wars original Disney Plus show. Joining me to discuss the latest episode, episode 6, it's my partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Hey dude.
How you doing? Now I already know the answer to this, so I'm asking it so you can inform the listeners. How are you doing?
I'm feeling like there's going to be a lot of editing on this podcast because I have come down with the flu.
You're going with flu?
I'm going with flu because just, generalisation, man flu, I think is what the wife calls it.
No.
But unfortunately, I have medical chest issues. So every time one of the children comes home with a cold, I turn it into the plague.
Yeah.
So it's very unfortunate.
Wow.
But it does mean I'm a little bit wheezy and coffee today, so there will be some editing out.
There will hopefully, but basically, if you're listening intently and all of a sudden your eardrums get blown by a cough, it means you missed one in the edit. We apologise.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. So we have got this episode to talk about, which we're going to dive into really soon. First of all, some admin, podcast admin. I feel like I need to get like a little theme tune for this, like podcast admin time, something like that. What do you think?
I reckon, like, every podcast now starts with a podcast admin. Do you know what we need to finish every episode with, like, a podcast advert, and we can header and tail it, and then we'll be laughing.
Don't you think people would just skip that though? Like if I'm listening to something and they start with, "Hey, here's a word from our sponsor," skip.
Depends. Will the sponsor pay us even though everyone skips it?
I don't know. We do get some offers for stuff.
Funko Pop.
No. They weirdly they have not. But I get stuff through on a regular basis, and I sort of explore it and look into it. And more often than not, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that really fits with us. I mean, in the last few months. And I'm not going to name names but there is a male hygiene product which sponsored a different show that I'm on, and they'd like to sponsor us, and they offered me less money than they did for the show, the other one, so I just pointed that out and they went quiet. So but again, I'm not entirely sure that works for this.
I don't know, for close shave of the day.
Yeah, perhaps.
Every episode where something very close to the,
Yeah, well, your marketing brain is on point there, but I was more thinking that they wanted to do a general sponsorship for like a year, and like we vary this podcast where it's me and you a lot.
Yeah.
We also have Kaylee come on. There's also a show on Stranger Things where my daughter talks on it. And I'm not entirely sure that fits. There's a conversation there. There was another one which was really funny. It was an American company that are trying to launch across Europe, and it was for a type of drink. And when we looked into it, the type of drink was like a mood enhancing type of drink. And basically looked into it, and most of the ingredients in the UK are actually illegal currently. So, I mean, it could have been fun. I mean, we'd have promoted the hell out of that thing, but British people talking about a drink that you can't actually buy legally in the UK would have been interesting. So again, we do get offers on a regular basis. Now, one of the things I always thought would be more fun is if we've got listeners who are like got small businesses, like I'm a small business owner, like I'm trying to sell stuff online or anything like that. You should get in touch with us and we promote you. Wouldn't charge you, we just do it for fun. But we would be in charge of creating your advert. So that's the sort of line you'd have to go down. Like, hey, I like to, I sell or I rent out bouncy castles or whatever. Would you promote my business? Yes, we will. However,
we are going to call it bouncy fun for grown-ups.
There you go. See, we would put a twist on it. So I always thought that would be fun though, because you'd start every show like something a little bit different, like. Today's sponsor is Bessie's Cakes. Bessie. And, that Bessie probably wouldn't appreciate it that much. I don't know. Maybe she would.
Do you know what? I am going to pitch that to it. This is very we've gone well off on a tangent here, but...
Always.
I have a friend of mine who, unfortunately, has created an addiction between me and my eldest daughter.
Oh, was this Bulba Tea or
the
whatever?
Bubble Tea.
Bubble Tea.
But he has his own company, and he's just started it, small business, and it's because of him that this, addiction has started. So I'm going to pitch that to him. And I'm like, mate, I'm going to make you an advert on our podcast, and it'll be fun.
My daughter loves bubble tea. She just basically told me what was in it the other day, and I was like, nope, not for me. I think you're all mental. But yeah, you can just well imagine it, can't you? Sort of like, oh, hello everybody. Today we're talking about potatoes. Who wants a nice spud? But yeah, and that is dedicated to Potato Bear. Anyway, right, moving on. We shall now talk about Ahsoka. We've done our obligatory 5 minutes of talking nonsense.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Wait, we are now actually doing the admin.
No. The only admin thing I had, which is we promised a Q&A show to everybody, but unfortunately we weren't able to record it this week. We will try and get that done as soon as possible. Thank you so much for everybody for sending your questions in.
We have 100 odd bloody questions.
Yeah, I was expecting maybe 10 to 20, and we would really flesh it out over a show, laughing and joking, trying to come up with funny answers. We now have so many, and the show is basically going to be like a quick-fire Q&A. Like, answer the damn question, you're on the clock! Which is amazing, by the way.
Oh my God, we have 10 seconds per question.
It blows my mind sometimes. And also the creativity of some of the listeners in what they've asked. We've got everything from what's your favourite dinosaur to Kaylee, what's your shoe size? I don't quite understand that one. I'm guessing that person wants to buy her shoes. Who knows? But anyway, that show will come soon. Please keep an eye on the social media. It should be a lot of fun because I think some of the questions are very good, very informative. Some of the questions are obviously about the shows we talk about in the movies. Some of them are about us, which could be kind of funny and also kind of cringy. I nearly edited a load out. I nearly sort of looked at it and went, well, I don't want to answer that. And then I thought, no, because I would, if it wasn't me answering and if it was Stefan and Kaylee, I'd definitely leave it in. So there's going to be some questions in amongst that, which I have seen, but are going to make me cringe terribly. So thank you for sending those in. You know who you are. But yeah, okay, so that is the admin. The admin's done. The waffle at the beginning of the show is done. We are now getting ready to rock and roll. It is Ahsoka Episode 6, and the title of the episode was...
Far, Far Away. Dude, he said the thing!
Yeah.
He said the thing!
So,
I lost my freaking mind.
So there's a kind of funny thing with stuff like this, and we talked about it a little bit on a previous episode of Ahsoka, where it's like, there's a fine line between homage and it being cheesy. Like, there's a fine line between it fitting and stuff. If you were to say to me, in a Star Wars show, someone would use the lines, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, my initial thought would be, oh no, that's going to be really naff. How's that going to be applicable to the, that's from the text, my mind immediately would go negative. I'm watching this, and they're in a space whale flying to another galaxy, and he opens, and it works. It fits. It's a narrative. It actually fits into the story, and it brings this whole thing to this full circle of that the Jedi Temple had these ancient stories of a galaxy far, far away, and you're like, oh my God, okay. And yeah, I sat there grinning like an idiot. I loved it. Obviously, you did too.
I lost my mind.
Really?
He said it, and I was like, "That's the thing." Yeah, I was very happy.
So,
very well, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then it even came up with like the dum. I was like, "Oh my god, yes!"
So that is Hu Yang talking to Ahsoka in their ship, which is inside of a space whale, flying to another galaxy. Here's a sentence I never thought I'd say. What makes it worse is the sentence I just said, and it makes sense to me. Like that, yeah, that's normal. What about it? That is the only appearance of Ahsoka in this episode, in the series titled Ahsoka.
Yes.
So I just want to say to you, I enjoyed this episode. There's a lot in it. We're going to go through it. It doesn't bother me that Ahsoka in a series titled Ahsoka was in the beginning and then wasn't in the rest of the episode. Does it bother you?
No, it was a bloody brilliant episode.
Okay. So, in Boba Fett, there was an episode where it was basically Mando, and people lost their freaking minds over it.
Yeah, I did.
The show's called Boba Fett. Why is it all about Mando this episode? I mean, it was a good episode, but why was it? In Andor, there was an episode without Andor in it, which is all about Coruscant and the politics. And everyone went, good episode. Bit odd. Pacing seemed a bit strange. Didn't see Andor anywhere. It would appear to be Dave Filoni storytelling, Star Wars storytelling. This is something that happens, something that occurs. It doesn't bother me. I think sometimes it can be better done than others. I.e., in Boba Fett, I think if the episode had ended with Boba speaking to him and not, what's her name? Fennec Shand.
Yep.
Then that would have made sense, because then he would have appeared in an episode of a show titled his name. But it just doesn't. Like, if the episode's good and the content's good, it doesn't faze me. But again, I did see a hell of a lot of reactions like, "Oh, it's the Ahsoka show," and it wasn't featuring Ahsoka. I'm like, yeah, but it's called Ahsoka because we're following her journey. But this was all about what's going on. So
yeah, see, for me, it works because the story has completely moved.
Yep.
We've gone from point A to point B in this episode.
Yeah.
And that all needed to happen before Ahsoka gets to point B.
Yeah.
And instead of them just showing us her journey and then her getting there and us going, "Oh my god, there's Grand Admiral with Sabine and it's all done. What the hell happened?" This has shown us what happened, so yep, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. So I want to break the episode down into different parts. Basically discussing the sort of characters in this. I want to open with talking about Baylan and his apprentice.
Yep.
First of all, again, and I've said this before, I said this, and a few people messaged in not knowing and were shocked. The actor Baylan, Ray Stevenson, passed away. He died around his 59th birthday, I think. Really shocked, really awful, and his performance and it is so incredibly sad. An actor who people loved, and obviously friends and family, and his work in this show is incredible for me, because his character, I am so fascinated at what's going on with him. Like, you see the trailer and it's a guy wielding dark side, a red lightsaber, therefore dark side. Actually, let me stick a pin in that really quickly, mate. I am colorblind / color confused.
Yep.
The colors I mix up are red, orange, and yellow massively. Like, I really struggle to identify between the three.
Yeah.
So basically, just for everyone, red looks dark orange, yellow looks light orange, and orange, I mean, I'm guessing. I think that's orange.
Yeah.
What color are his lightsabers?
Oh, no.
The reason why I ask this, right, obviously because of my confusion, I've just been there red, because that's the colors. And yet I watched a breakdown video the other day on YouTube, and it was said almost like it was fact. Obviously, with the orange lightsabers, we know they are a different kind of Jedi, not Sith. Not Jedi, not Sith. And I'm like, okay, now I'm really baffled. Is that someone, perhaps colorblind like me, is just saying that? Because again, I asked like a couple of other people who I know watch the show, and they're like, they're red, dude.
Now, I have just had a very quick search on that very famous search engine online, without giving away any. Orange red.
Well, that's not very friggin' helpful to me, is it?
Dave Filoni later confirmed that this decision was intentional, seemingly reflecting his complexity. Sith normally carry red lightsabers, however, Baylan's isn't entirely red, but has lots of hints of orange.
Oh, bloody hell. No wonder why I'm struggling with it.
So Shin also had an orange-red blade.
Yeah. I knew they were the same with the two of them, but okay. So as a discussion point, then I guess the lightsabers not being fully red is a kind of indication of, look, they're not Jedi, but they're not Sith either, which we were kind of there anyway. Interesting. Message in. Let us know what color you see, because to me, that's blown my colorblind dumbass right out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, apparently I'm just as colorblind as you are, mate, because I just saw red.
He is keeping his word to Sabine, and it seems really important to him. And as things go on in this episode, his ability to keep his word in that regard is tested and kind of pushed. And Thrawn, for example, says, "You are keeping your word. She will find him, and then you'll kill them." And he's kind of like, okay, and leaves. But the thing that I find really interesting again in this whole setup with Baylan and his apprentice is, on a regular basis, the apprentice seems very aggressive, very kind of seems more Sith than Baylan, if that makes sense. She seems more like force choke you, I'm gonna stab you, I'm gonna kill your ass. Yeah. She's tried to kill Sabine a couple of times now, and what is interesting to me is that when she's around Baylan, she's very kind of like, she doesn't react well to the witches, like there's more witches, like doesn't like that. She also is like, I thought you were keeping your word. Like she's sort of questioning him a lot, which appears to be a kind of almost like she has a moral compass as well, or feels that he is her moral compass, perhaps.
Yeah.
And is kind of confused by what his goal is, what his actual end game to all of this.
Yeah, because there's a little bit of dialogue between them where she said something and he goes, you wouldn't know, you weren't raised with the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, tell me about it. Tell me stories. And I'm like, there's this little part of me that's like, are these two going to actually end up being good guys?
I don't know about that, because there's so many interesting dynamics this could go to. Like, I don't think they are. You got to define what we think is good. So
well, true. The Jedi destroyed millions and millions of people, so they're not exactly good.
No, it's kind of like if we're being overly simplistic in Star Wars, Jedi good, Sith bad. One of the things that the animated series with Clone Wars, Rebels, and then what Dave Filoni is trying to do with basically fleshing this out is the Jedi weren't perfect. They weren't like these beacons, and a lot of them were assholes. There's a famous Clone Wars episode where one of the Jedi basically gets turned on by his troops because he's just murdering them. He doesn't care. And, there's other Jedi who obviously care deeply, but then some of them are assholes. And they weren't defenders of the peace. Like, so you gotta have this sort of bigger picture of like what the Jedi actually were. And also, I think in the last episode, I think a lot of people seeing how young Ahsoka was in live action fighting in a war, were like, the Jedi were messed up. Like, this isn't, like, that's not right. That's like child soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
So from our kind of eyes to this, it does raise a lot of questions about, good, bad, and everything. And there's this kind of grey area. A kind of orange lightsaber, if you would.
Yes, very well done.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it's interesting, and I like exploring that. I like looking at that, and I like looking at Baylan and the apprentice character in this because they're asking questions. But one of the things, like you said, there's some good dialogue between the two, and there seems to be he seems to have a goal, which initially you're okay. He's a mercenary. Morgan's paid him to get her out of there. Okay, is that it? Is that his role and now he's going to go off? No. Okay, he's staying with her. He's staying with her because he believes in bringing Thrawn back. Oh, okay, he's a bad guy. He's Sith. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. He's bringing Thrawn back because he believes Thrawn has to come back because you have to destroy before you can create. Okay, so in his mind, whether we agree with his logic or not, he's gone a bit Thanos. In his head, he's doing the right thing. He's doing a bad thing for the right reason.
Yeah, like he gave that speech, didn't he? Like, you know, the Jedi raised, they got rid of the Sith. The Sith raised, got rid of the Jedi have raised, they've got rid of the Sith. And now, you know, it's a constant cycle, and he just wants to get to the beginning to end the cycle. And it's like,
yeah.
Okay, so in a sense, he wants to end the war and destruction and the death. Yeah. He wants to stop all that, which sounds very pre-Clone War Jedi.
Yeah.
But by doing that, he's going to be full murder everyone war to get it Thanos edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take, that's for sure.
Well, I think he's a very interesting character. And like I said about, there's a lot of different ways it can go, a lot of different ways it can happen. If you think about the kind of master and apprentice Sith, typically the master and apprentice, when it comes to Sith, the apprentice kills the master. That's what happens. And I think in this series so far, she is trying to learn and soak up everything from him, but is questioning a lot. Now, you can look at it two ways. Like I said, she's almost questioning along the lines of, but you said this, but you said this. But we obviously don't know her thoughts at the moment, but it could be there's some conflict there. It could be along the lines of, I don't get what our goal is here. And I'm asking you these questions because these vague-ass responses aren't doing it for me.
Yeah.
So, although Baylan as a character at the end, we could say, okay, he's a sympathetic character. He was ultimately a good guy, but perhaps misguided, or he'd been led down a dark path. I got a feeling that perhaps she will be his undoing. Simply because of the Star Wars, always two there are, a master and an apprentice.
Yeah.
And the apprentice kills the master when it's Sith. But again, I'd like to think that I might be subverted with that, but that's just where I'm at with it at the moment. I'd love to know what his thoughts are, what his goals are, what his end game is in his mind, and I hope we get to hear that, and I hope we understand or have a better understanding. So moving on from Baylan and his apprentice, I want to move on to Sabine to discuss Sabine in this episode. She is a captive at the beginning, obviously. They arrive on the planet to meet with Thrawn and the witches.
Yeah.
Which in live action, by the way, was very cool.
Yes.
And one of the first things that happens when she's there and she's kind of in cuffs and the witches see her is the witches smell Jedi on her. It's kind of an interesting thing because, of course, in her mind, she's not really a Jedi. She can't even move a cup, you know?
Yeah, see, that's for me. Now, this seems... Because when they said about they can smell Jedi...
Yeah,
I'm
you were thinking
there,
Baylan.
And I'm like, Baylan's there, Shin is there, who I've got some doubts about, and Sabine's there, and I'm like, well, who do they mean? Like, oh, this could be... Imagine if they had gone to Shin instead or something, and Baylan and Morgan are looking at each other going, what the... You know?
Yeah.
I was like, they could mean any of the three people there. It could be any... Oh, no, it's Sabine. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, because Sabine's the one who I least think of as a Jedi.
Yeah,
of the three of them, yeah.
And the other thing that was interesting in it is the camera shot straight to Baylan. And he had a kind of look on his face of like, not me.
Not this one.
No, not me. You know, I left the Jedi Order a long time ago. And yeah, so that was kind of interesting to me. That was it was interesting that they identified her as Jedi. But also they did this cool little kind of 3 orbs trap around her But Sabine also had a look on her face of like, really, me, Jedi, really? I mean,
yeah, you sure?
But it was this kind of like, oh, cool. maybe I got a bit of the old Jedi thing going on.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, someone tell my master because she thinks I'm crap. Yeah. But she gets led off to a cell and she's shouting about, we had a deal. Where's Ezra? And you can see, again, from my opinion, Baylan looks kind of like, yeah, I did make a promise here. I did do a deal and I want to honour that. So again, this conflict with Baylan I find really interesting. But Sabine is down in the cell. Sabine tries to use her Jedi skills to move rocks. The whole place starts shaking and she's like, yeah, I'm doing it. Oh, hang on. No, I'm not doing it, am I? And we go to a shot of like a Star Destroyer coming in, so it wasn't her doing it at all, which I loved. But like I said, so just focusing on Sabine then at the moment, she's brought before Thrawn, who obviously knew her from the Rebels, and Thrawn is like, yeah, so I'm going to let you go find Ezra. I'm going to give you your weapons and some supplies and a mount. I'm also going to tell you where the last we thought he was, and, good luck. And she's kind of like, you're letting me go? He's like, yeah, you're basically responsible for me being here and me coming back, which, by the way, was like a massive, like, as the kids would say, some throwing shade there, I feel. That was kind of like...
No, like, you've doomed the entire galaxy by bringing me back. The least I can do is let you go wander into the desert to find some person that might be dead. Off you go. Yeah,
that was literally it. And so he does that. She leaves. We're obviously aware that Thrawn then sends Baylan after, etc., to track her, but she goes off. There's a scene where a stormtrooper, by the way, with like a gold face mask, which we'll talk about in a little bit, called Captain Enoch, basically hands her weapons back and is like, be warned, this planet has roving, like, mercenary, like, roving hordes that just like to kill each other. And then it's like, as she's about to leave, goes, die well.
I love that. Yeah,
like,
die
whoa. Well. It's like not even a kind of like, good luck, or like, may the force be like something sarcastic. The guy's just like, well, you're going to die, so, die well.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, okay. This guy's a badass. Because stormtroopers typically are a bit cannon fodder. So when this opens and you see this whole platoon, whole kind of unit of stormtroopers looking smashed up, put back together, but possibly battle hardened, like badasses.
Yeah.
Wherever they prove to be when we see them in conflict, I don't know, but certainly visually you think, ooh, okay. And with the way Captain Enoch speaks as well, this kind of like, die well. You're like, okay, jeez.
So Captain Enoch, is he from the Rebels as well?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But I think he might be based on a character. I'm not sure at the moment. Enoch, no. But I think there could possibly be a kind of a merger of a character.
Right.
Because there's a novelization called Heir to the Empire, and there's a character in that who's like Thrawn's bodyguard. And I think based on just this opening sequence, it looks like Enoch has become that. And I wonder if perhaps a Rebels character is also integrated in. I've got to be honest with you, my first thought when I saw that helmet and this guy being there, I thought, oh no, that's going to be Ezra. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've been gone 10 years, Ezra's been turned, and he's going to be his personal bodyguard. Like, oh, you're here to find Ezra. Well, Captain? And like takes the helmet off, is like, sup, Sabine? Like, no!
You're about 7.5 years too late. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did worry about that. Once we finally do see Ezra, you're kind of like, well, of course they were never going to do that. It's Ezra. Ezra's like the ultimate. No, I'm a goodie, honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I just killed a couple of 100,000 people, but I'm a nice guy. That's Chopper, by the way. So she does head out. She gets into a fight in an ambush. Yes. Her mount, like this kind of wolf type creature that she's riding, runs off, which I thought was really funny because the thing looks terrifying. The thing looks like it's going to eat her at any moment.
But the first gunshot happens.
Yeah, and it runs away. And she finishes the fight, and she's like, "You've left me," and the thing's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's like I knew you'd be a coward, and the thing's just like, "Oh, I don't like guns."
Tell me I'm a good boy. Tell me I'm a good boy.
Yeah. But what did you think about the kind of the fight sequence with her in this ambush? Because the thing I find interesting is, me and you said earlier, when she fights as a Mandalorian, she looks better.
Yeah.
But in this fight, she was kind of holding her own, not winning until she got the lightsaber out, and then she took over and won the fight. So it was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, it's the last fight scene we saw. You're right. The lightsaber seemed to almost be holding her back. It was when she kind of dropped that and got the guns out and stuff that she kind of took to her own. Now, is this because she just got told, I can smell Jedi on you, that she's gone, I'm a Jedi, I can do this?
I have a theory.
Okay.
So we know that wielding a lightsaber is more than just here's a weapon, let me swing it around. The Jedi wield the lightsaber and it sort of becomes part of them. Think about the mythos around the dark saber and the fact, Din Djarin struggled with it. You have to learn to like move it as part of your body. It has to be part of you. So having a symbiotic relationship with the Force helps you with the lightsaber, etc., etc. Of course, then there's practice and saber skill, etc. But your ability, your midichlorian count, all of this stuff, your Jedi power greatly feeds into your ability with a lightsaber. We hear that a lot throughout Star Wars. On this planet, we know that this is almost like the birthplace, the home of these witches who have abilities with the Force. And they took that and they went to the new galaxy, which is the Star Wars galaxy we all know, and they built their temples and moved their civilization or a part of it there. And that's, and they became Force users in their own way in that galaxy.
Yes.
But I wonder if this planet has a kind of strong link to the Force. And perhaps anywhere else in a galaxy, Sabine wouldn't smell like Jedi. But on this planet,
it's all heightened.
It's heightened, yeah. And that's kind of what I was wondering, what I was thinking. And I was just sort of, perhaps when she got the saber out, perhaps this is the demonstrator while she's here, actually, as a Jedi, she's up there. What that would mean if like Ahsoka shows up here, etc., where her level will be, I don't know. And again, it's just a weird theory, because I just sort of thought it was interesting that previously we saw her with the saber struggle when she switched to Mandalorian, she looked great. Yeah. But on this, she was kind of not struggling, but wasn't necessarily winning that fight until the saber came out.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. But she does win the fight, and then she bumps into some trolls from Frozen.
Yes.
She basically bumps into little creatures who are freaking adorable, by the way. Star Wars does this to us on a regular basis.
But then normally kills them off, so I'm a bit worried.
Oh, yeah, definitely be worried. But they do this to us, Ewoks and all sorts, over the years of like...
Ewoks are not adorable, they're little carnivore murdering machines.
Yeah, but they're cuddly. It is kind of like, it was very cute, very adorable. And this creature, obviously they don't speak the same language, which I appreciated. We're in a galaxy far, far away. And I liked the fact that recognised the symbol on her sigil, the rebel symbol, and then was like, oh, I've got that. And she's like, oh, okay, if you've got that, you must know Ezra. Ezra Bridger! And I'm like, oh, here we go. Someone knows where he is. So this little creature toddles off, she follows and finds like a little village.
Not to eat them.
Yeah. I was scared of the dog thing.
Yeah, dog, don't eat them.
Yeah. The thing is, kept licking it when it was a rock. But basically they toddle off, they lead her to like this village encampment, there's full of them, there's little baby ones of them being swung in a hammock, which was cute. And she's kind of looking around like, oh, this is adorable, you're all kind of adorable. And then she hears, like, I knew I could count on you. And we, for the first time, see Ezra Bridger in live action.
Yes.
Dude's got a beard. He's grown up.
I've got to be honest with you on this point.
Yeah.
I feel like yourself and people on like our Discord, Mikey and Ryan, probably had a lot greater reaction to seeing Ezra Bridger.
Well, you never watched Rebels.
Than myself, who didn't get to watch Rebels.
Yeah. So
I'm like, oh, cool, Ezra, he's alive. That's cool. And I'm guessing you three are probably like, oh my god, Ezra Bridger in real life. Yeah.
I was kind of pleased because you have an idea in your mind of how these characters would look.
Yep.
And I guess for me, Sabine like really ticks that. Like Sabine from animated to live action. As soon as I saw the actress in the gear, I was like, oh wow, that's kind of saw it. Hera as well. Chopper, obviously, she's Chopper. And so I kind of had it in my mind of what he would look like. And the funny thing is there's this bit in Rebels where you see a picture of his father.
Yeah. And
he's got this beard. And then to see Ezra rock up, because of course it's been 10 years since Ezra did what he did, roughly. So to him now look like that picture we got shown in Rebels of his dad, I thought was very clever.
Nice. Okay.
That's a Dave Filoni level detail. You know what I mean? That's kind of like we're gonna cast someone who we think looks like Ezra and everything, but more grown up. But we're also in this opening scene, especially, gonna make it look like this picture. And I've seen a few people online go, oh, he doesn't look like Ezra, but oh my god, he looks just like Ezra's dad in this picture we saw in episode. I'm like, yes, he did. So I thought that was incredibly clever. We have a really nice reunion moment, which I always enjoy across any show. Reunion moments get me. But immediately that reunion, he's like, "How did you get here? Where are you on your own?" And she's like, "I don't really want to talk about it right now. I just want to kind of enjoy this moment because I know you, and I know when I tell you what I did, you're gonna go freaking loopy."
Yeah, Charles, can I just be happy for this moment? And you can see him, he's like, of course, but there's a look in his eyes like, what the fuck have you done, kid?
So, this is something which I don't think they're going to go hard on this show, but I think they should. Because I think if you're going to try and do any sort of TV or anything, even in a fantasy genre, sci-fi, anything, human moments and human reactions should be as real as possible. And for me, let's just look at this.
I've just lost 10 years of my life sacrificing it to save the entire galaxy.
From Thrawn.
And you've just given the bad guys the map to bring Thrawn back to destroy the galaxy because you missed me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to be best pleased.
No, and this is exactly where my head is. It's like, he's like, I've been gone a long time, I knew you'd find me, but he's like, but my plan worked, like it was worth it. And she's like, yeah, it worked. And he's like, then great, we won the war, the Empire's over, it was all worth it.
Yeah, I can't wait to go home. And she just kind of gives this look like, oh, he's gonna freaking screw.
I
want him to lose his freaking mind and be like angry as feck.
Yeah. No, I really, I don't think they will. I think they'll Jedi it. I think they'll count backwards from 10, Ezra. We're all good. Let's just go move some rocks, drink some blue milk. Everything will be fine.
I hope not.
But for me, if he absolutely, even if he goes mental but then calms down, which I'll be fine with. But I want his initial reaction to be angry. I want his initial reaction to be...
It has to be. Like...
Pissed at her.
He's just lost 10 years of his life for this sacrifice.
Yeah.
That she has just undone because she missed him a bit. Like, he needs to lose his mind.
And it sounds like he spent 10 years constantly moving, on the run, surviving.
Yeah.
Barely. He's like, we don't stay in one place for long. This planet sounds like a nightmare. And so he's lived that for 10 years, and what's kept him going is, hopefully my friends will find me, but if they don't, at least I know I've done this and I've saved everyone in my galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, I brought about I played a massive part in bringing down the Empire, I know I did. because Thrawn's here somewhere, and I did that.
Yeah. I see his spaceship fly over every now and again, so I know he's still here.
Yeah, I know he's here somewhere. His stormtroopers come after me every now and again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of Sabine run. Obviously, Ezra's there, which is great.
So, question for you on Sabine quickly then.
Yeah.
Is her character in this, because I haven't seen Rebels, is her character in this and the way she does things, is that true to the character in Rebels?
Yeah.
Gosh, she's freaking annoying.
Yeah. She's Mandalorian, training to become a Jedi, but not fully understanding either world. But yeah, it's difficult because I'd say yes, they're nailing it, but at the same time, she didn't have similar instances to this during Rebels where you'd say she'd make the exact same decision, if that makes sense. You kind of look at it and go, we don't know. So the thing I like about this, and the thing I like and I think is good storytelling, is you look at this and you go, I don't agree with it. I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because she is the good side of the character coin, but she's made a pretty massive mistake here. I think all of us can look at that. Even the people are like, yeah, but it's Ezra. She found Ezra. Yeah, but it's still. And Ezra shouldn't see it that way. And I know Ahsoka doesn't. You know, Ahsoka's struggling with this. You know, she said right at the start of this episode, you know, I didn't tell Hera, which we picked up on. You know, we talked about last week. She went willingly, and Hu Yang's like, that's not good.
Yeah.
that's not the best thing in the world. But he also shows a lot of faith in her as well, along the lines of, look, for her, there wasn't a choice. For her, this is the only thing she could have done because of Ezra. And, of course, all Ahsoka's thinking about is attachment. All she is thinking about is, I saw my master, the best of me, fall horrifically due to attachment. Because she is now
his wife was about to die of sadness, so therefore, you know.
In childbirth, not of sadness.
Sorry.
She's got to be looking at this going, Sabine's now made this decision, which is basically put the entire galaxy back in war. And, you know, that's my master and that's my apprentice. So I think her mind is just racing right now.
She's not stuck in a good middle zone, is she, right now?
No, not at all. And I think this is where she struggled, and I think that's why we saw Anakin in the World Between Worlds with her, which was a kind of trying to say, you know, you are more than this. Don't think what I did is on you. So don't think that because you learnt from me, you're passing that on. So I think she kind of stepped out of that feeling a little bit better, and then Sabine did that, and she's like, oh, crap. Maybe this is me. Maybe this is my influence. Maybe I'm not a good enough teacher, etc., etc.
It's going to be a fun reunion, those two.
It's going to be an interesting conversation, definitely. So the next part of this episode we need to talk about is Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn has arguably one of the best entrances in live action I've ever seen. His ship, the Chimera, comes in beautifully. Like, that imagery, that shot was incredible.
Yeah.
And sort of docks over the platform they're on. Like, and I loved that. I thought that was so clever, so different to what we'd seen before. And then we get to see his stormtroopers all kind of, like I said, looking a bit battered. So I've got a question about this to you. So the witches we've seen in animation, they reanimate dead people. They've reanimated corpses on a regular basis.
Yes.
There is a theory that these stormtroopers are dead.
Now, I've got a note, actually. I don't make notes often, let's be honest. I do normally try and wing it more with you leading. But I have got a couple of notes. And one of my notes I've got is, remember the character that was with Shin, who we all thought might have been Starkiller?
Yeah.
And he was basically raised by Morgan, and he had that weird kind of powdery existence when she killed him.
Yep.
I have a full-on theory that those stormtroopers are all the exact same thing.
You think each one of them there is basically reanimated, turned to dust if killed?
I think a majority, maybe not the entire fleet, but I think a vast majority.
Yeah.
Like Captain Enoch, I think, he seems like he can talk, he can do stuff. He's possibly a real person. Yeah. However, I believe a vast majority of those stormtroopers, when you look, we were saying earlier about they look very battle hardened and everything else. I'm like, do they look that battle hardened because they were all like killed in battle and therefore the witches have raised them up from the dead and that's why they look so messed up?
Obviously, it's a question we don't know the answer to right now. I like the theory. I would prefer it not to be that.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I prefer that. Not because I don't think it's a good theory, not because I don't think it'd be good visually, etc., etc., and not because I don't think it fits if you look at them. Stormtroopers are a bit of a joke in Star Wars. They can't hit shit. They can't do anything. Clone troopers were good. Stormtroopers were not. Yep. Stormtroopers were conscripts. Grand Admiral Thrawn, his army, his fleet, were among the best. He had ships manned and he trained his troops. He was very tactical. He won practically every engagement, which is why Ezra taking him away enabled the rebels to win the war.
Right, yeah.
Now, he therefore would have the remaining troops. He says himself, our numbers have diminished a lot here. And in my head, I like the idea of this actually being, the stormtroopers he has actually being a threat. They can hit stuff with their blasters. They are tactically astute. They are well trained. And what you are seeing is that they have had to live and adapt. They've repaired their armor because they've been fighting for 10 years on this planet or across this part of the galaxy. They've been exploring, losing their numbers, but this is what is left. These ones that are left are hardcore, and that's why they look the way they look. That's why they sound the way they sound. Yeah. And therefore when they engage and they are in a fight, you're going to know about it. I like that idea possibly more than them simply being resurrected dead stormtroopers and basically you're just going to cut through them like stormtroopers, but rather than them dropping to the floor, they'll turn into mist. Did you see what I mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be quite nice to actually have stormtroopers that are a threat for once.
Yeah. And I think this would allow you to do that without breaking, the whole canon of stormtroopers being a bit naff.
Yeah.
Because you could look at them and go, well, for 10 years, these lot have just trained and fought and just, non-stop battle-hardened unit. And they're basically almost like cult followers now.
Oh, yeah.
When Thrawn walks in, it's like, Thrawn. They're he's like a cult leader. If he says go and die there, they'll be like, okay, for you.
If I must, yeah.
Yeah. But his entrance I loved, the Chimera coming in and him walking through. Anyone who follows us on TikTok, I've done a couple of edits with different types of music for it, and I've done the Imperial March and it just lines up brilliantly. Like dun 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 dun. So yeah, check them out if you haven't already. But yeah, I thought the stormtroopers visually looked amazing. I think Thrawn in live action. A few people said he looks like Elon Musk but blue, and that cracked me up. And I don't know why that cracked me up, but it did.
Oh no! Now you've said that, I'm looking at a picture. Oh, for Christ, why have you said that? I was just about to tell you how good a bad guy he is, because again, he goes for the whole
I think Elon Musk is amongst the best bad guys in the real world, so it still works for me.
It's a fair point. But
I tried to describe Thrawn to you, didn't I, in the past, and I was like, the thing I love about Thrawn is he's
avatar.
He's like calculating, the spoilers about context. He's like he's calculating, he's calm, he's always trying to play everything like a chess match where he's trying to stay moves ahead.
Yeah.
And I think in this little introduction here, if you've never seen him before, which you haven't, I like to think that you got that from everything you've just seen from him straight away.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he came across and it was so calm and so kind of like, oh, thank you, Yeah, you go find Ezra, and then as soon as she's gone, you guys go get her. And he's like a step ahead of everything, and I'm like, oh.
His opening line as well What once was a dream is now a frightening reality for all those who oppose us. It's like, okay. you just stepped off of a Star Destroyer with your own army at your back, and that's the cold-ass line you deliver. It's like, how many times in front of the mirror did you practice that? you know? Step off the Star Destroyer, like, Morgan, it's been ages. Oh, so good to see you. No, he steps off, delivering a cold-ass warning to the galaxy.
You know, every morning he's woken up, gone to his mirror to get dressed, and said that line. Today's the day I see this.
Yeah, 10 years, and I've developed this badass line.
If you had turned up in half a year, I would have gone, "Hi, Morgan, how you doing?"
Yeah, I'm not ready.
I'm glad you waited this long. I've perfected it.
He is in league with the witches. I thoroughly believe he has no intention of honouring any agreement he has with them. He's using them. That's my humble opinion.
He doesn't strike me as the sort of person that would keep any deals.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of these people, like, again, I haven't seen the Rebels, so this is all kind of on the cuff sort of thing.
It's good.
To me, he comes across as someone who will use absolutely everyone, make these deals, and as soon as he gets what he wants, you're dead before you realise he's betrayed you.
Yep.
That's how he comes across.
That's exactly how I would encapsulate him, and how I think in live action in this. I think that is exactly the kind of character he is. You got to look at the whole Sabine. Yeah, you go find him. Best of luck. I want you to go kill them, to Baylan. A little bit later on, the witch's sense Ahsoka is getting close. A Jedi is coming. And his reaction to that is, Baylan told me she was dead. And she's like, oh, well, Baylan, he's like, okay. And immediately his whole, okay, well, Baylan's dead to me now. Yeah. And you can see his kind of whole demeanour of like, he's betrayed us. And it's like, whoa, or maybe he thought she was dead. And he's like, no, that's done.
Yeah, it's like he's a Jedi. He's known for misjudgment. Yeah. And that was it. It was like...
And it's like, tell me everything about Ahsoka. Like, now tell me everything. And this is him. This is how he works. And this is why he's such an interesting character. Because he will now say to Morgan, like, I want to know everything. And he has a plan. Like, you see a space whale coming towards this place, you destroy it. With intent. You get rid of it. And so he just has this kind of tactical thinking of, okay, I want you to destroy anything that comes close. But if she gets past that, I need to know everything about her so I can plan. And he always has a plan. And that's what's interesting. I think that obviously they built that massive hyperspace ring because they knew they'd be picking up the Chimera.
Yep.
So obviously that's their plan. They're going to stick the Chimera in that massive hyperspace ring and jump back to the main Star Wars galaxy. They are currently, I think they say it's going to take 3 rotations, so basically 3 days to load all of their stuff onto the Chimera. So next episode's obviously going to be them trying to finish that off and then get back whilst Ahsoka arrives trying to stop them. So that's going to be interesting.
Is when Ahsoka gets there just as she sees the hyper ring take off and put
them
back.
Did you just say Ahsoka?
Yeah, I've got a cold. Leave me alone. Ahsoka is going to get there just as the hyper ring disappears back, taking him back. And she's going to get out the space whale and go, damn it. Whale, turn back.
Yeah.
Whale, turn back.
I do like the idea that the whale's going to get there and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm here to die. This is where us whales come to die. So best of luck for your future endeavours, Ahsoka. And she's like, yeah, I kind of need you to take me back. Nope, good luck with that. I'm dead. I'm dying here now. So yeah, overall, introducing Thrawn I thought was incredible.
Yep.
Seeing Ezra in that little snippet was great. That was fun and kind of like, ooh, can't wait for his reaction to how Sabine got there. It continues every episode to move the story forward, and at the end of the episode go, oh, damn it, I want more of this. Which I think's perfect TV. Well done, everybody involved.
Yeah, we've not got many episodes left either, so I'm kind of like, oh, okay. We are building.
I believe it's 2.
Yeah, we are
2 more episodes.
Building quickly to a climax here, which I'm like, oh.
Do you think this is season 1 and we're going to get a season 2? Or do you think this is one and done and it's just going to lead into other Mandoverse shows?
Now, looking at the ratings on like IMDb, for example,
yeah,
if they as a studio are looking at shows to carry on the Star Wars universe, these ratings tell me they need a second season.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I hope that perhaps that's something already greenlit and will be confirmed at the end.
Ahsoka
or
will
very
return,
soon.
or yeah.
I hope anyway, because I really, really enjoying this. That is all my notes for this week's episode. Did you have anything else?
No, that is my notes. My notes were, he said the thing, Stormtroopers, Dusk Guys, is Sabine this annoying in Rebels?
Thank you. Excellent notes. They were vast and informative. Well done. So yeah, this just leaves me to say a massive thank you for everybody who's continuing to listen and interact. Whether you're part of the small group that joins us on Discord to chat about things in real time, or whether you post via social media or your podcast app, we do hear you and read it, and thank you very much for that. I think it was 2 weeks ago or last week we had over 1,500 emails in a day come in to talk about the Ahsoka episode.
And not many having a go at me from pronunciations. So impressive.
No, but this week when you said Ahsoka, because you said Ahsoka, that was you said Ahsoka, Stefan said Ahsoka, I'd imagine a few people will take umbrage of you saying Ahsoka, and you will hear about you saying Ahsoka. I think this week we will get hate mail because you said Ahsoka. That's what I think anyway, because you said Ahsoka.
I'm not editing all that out, are we? No.
Nope, and that's why I did it. Okay, so I want to say a massive thank you to everybody for listening as always. We will be back next week to discuss episode 7. Keep an eye on the socials. If you sent in a question for the Q&A show, they are now locked. So if you haven't, please don't send it in because your question will not be asked.
But you may still be charged.
If only. No, but yeah, I mean, send it in if you want, and if I think it's hilarious, I'll try and ram it in there as well. But we have had a few now where are duplicates, so obviously whoever sent it in first is the one that gets asked. But anyway, massive thank you again. We'll be back next week. You all take care.
And I'll go back to bed.
I knew I could count on you.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.